Okay, today's question and answer day. A bunch of people asked me questions on both Instagram and Facebook. I selected 10 out of the group of questions. I'm going to try to answer as many as I can within 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and just get started so that we can get this done. The first question comes from Andre de Saint-Filet. Have your many successful death-defying exploits brought you any peace, or do you still feel the need to be on the razor's edge even as you get older? That's actually a very good question. I have changed a lot since I started. In the beginning, when I first saw base jumping and first decided that this was something that I was going to dedicate my life to, I was a very different person. I was a 16-year-old child who was suffering from very dark depression, and I was trying to find an outlet to somehow channel very negative and very dark energy. And I feel fortunate that I found something, an activity like base jumping, in order to put all of that negativity somewhere positive. And I do believe that base jumping did save my life. And I've been through so many near-death experiences, and I've watched so many really good friends die, that all of those very intense and very powerful experiences have helped me put my life into perspective and to see what is important, what isn't important, what matters, what doesn't matter. And it's completely shifted my whole way of thinking and way of seeing things. And now, as a 41-year-old, I definitely see my life in a completely different way than I did as a 16-year-old, than I did as a 21-year-old, as I did as a 30-year-old, as I did as a 35-year-old. I've gone through these transitions and shifts, and this sport and these experiences and these very extreme things that I've witnessed have helped me relax. I no longer feel the need to be on the razor's edge at all. I actually, quite honestly, am quite happy when I just wake up in the morning and I can just... I had an experience, years ago where I broke my back and I was in bed for 6 weeks staring at a ceiling, and I had to use a bedpan, and the bedpan taught me something. There's nothing more mortifying, there's nothing more horrible than being trapped in a bed and being unable to go to the bathroom by yourself. It's a very humbling experience. And I have to be honest, it's my most hated thing I've ever been through. If there were a hell, like if I were to die and go to hell, and that was an actual thing that happened, it would involve bedpans. That is my hell. My concept of hell is a bedpan. That's how much I hate them. And now, any day that I can get out of bed and go to the bathroom by myself without having to have someone help me, without having to push a button, without having to have someone clean me, is an absolutely beautiful day. So now I have a greater appreciation for my life and everything that's in my life and the people that are in my life and everything. I mean, I don't take things for granted. I mean, the people I love, I every day, I try to tell them how much I love them and how much I appreciate them, because I know that it's only a matter of time till they're not there anymore. Everyone's life is coming to an end. Everything is coming to an end. And once you understand the impermanence of everything around you, it helps you to appreciate them so much more. So that's a very long answer but it's a complicated question. So the answer is no, I do not feel like I need to be on the bleeding edge of anything anymore. I still do enjoy doing flying and doing extreme things, but I don't feel a need that that's what I have to do. I do it because I love it and because I enjoy it, but no longer do I feel compelled to do it. So anyways, I think that was a good question. I like that one. Okay, next. Josh Bush. So Josh Bush, looking back on all your near-death experiences while airborne, which one made you tell yourself, this time it's over? I've had a lot of those. Unfortunately, I wish I could say there's just one, but there's quite a few. I have to say The most recent one, because I've had quite a few throughout my life, not just base jumping, but just in life in general. I mean, I've been in 9 car accidents as a child. You know, never, not with me driving, just as my parents were horrific drivers, and I've been in cars flipping down the freeway. I've fallen through ice and I've frozen. I've had boats sink and I've drowned. I have experienced a lot of very extreme near-death experiences. You know, I've had them throughout my life, even before I started base jumping. But my most recent one was, without a doubt, when I hit Table Mountain. Table Mountain is a cliff in South Africa, and I was flying a wingsuit, aiming for a target, and I misjudged and impacted and blew myself apart. I impacted at terminal velocity, which normally kills people. That's something that you don't survive. And when I impacted, I knew for sure that I was going to die, 100%. I knew there was no chance to recover. I knew there was no chance to survive. But yeah, I would have to say that was I knew it was over. I knew there was no way I was going to make it. And when I pulled my parachute, I only pulled because I just wanted to see how much time I could get. I thought, you know, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe a half hour, but I didn't think I'd get any more than that. But that was one thing that taught me that you just never give up, because I wanted as much time as I could get, and it turned out I got many more years, you know. So you're never really 100% sure of anything. You always have to put forth the effort, and who knows how it's going to work out, you know. I genuinely believed I was going to die, and I was going to die a painful, suffering death. But luckily, I was painful, and I suffered for months and months and months, if not years. But I did recover, and here I am. I'm jumping again, and I'm living. So all I can say is that experience taught me, just don't give up, ever. Never give up. You know, always fight to the end. And it's all about just surviving, just survive, you know. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've survived through so many of these things, is because I just don't give up. I mean, I fight to survive, and so far I've survived. So, Jack Gordon, last time you posted on here about not liking alcohol, you said it was too complicated to explain. As someone else who is totally, I don't know what that is, I'd like to hear your explanation. Well, when I was a child, I was like 8 years old, I had a babysitter, and the babysitter thought it would be absolutely hilarious to get me drunk. So they gave me a giant glass of ouzo, and I got alcohol poisoning, and I almost died. So at that point, I got something in psychology is called classical conditioning. I got conditioned. So the smell of alcohol from that point forward made me feel like I was going to throw up. Also the smell of licorice, because the ouzo tastes like licorice. So the smell of licorice and the smell of alcohol made me just feel like I was going to vomit. Until my mid-20s, I couldn't even date a girl who wore perfume, because the smell of perfume made me feel like I was literally going to throw up. So I don't drink primarily because throughout my life, just the idea of drinking has been something that made me feel like I was going to get sick. just the smell has just made me ill. The smell no longer makes me ill. Now at this point, it no longer makes me sick to smell it. But the concept of drinking alcohol, to me, is like one of the most disgusting things. I can't even, my brain just is so against it that if someone put like a glass of alcohol and a glass of like urine and put a gun to my head and said, you have to drink one of these, it would be a dilemma for me. That's how I see it. It's so gross that I can't even think about putting that shit in my mouth. So that's basically, it's a little, and then it's become more philosophical now. Like, it's beyond just the smell and the taste and the fact that it just nauseates me to even think about putting it in my mouth. But beyond that, there's also this philosophical concept that I'm not interested in putting a substance in my body that affects the way my mind works. I like the way I was born. I like the way my reality, the way I see reality, the way I process reality. I am not interested in shifting my reality or twisting my reality or changing my reality in any way, shape, or form. Other than through natural means, through jumping, through experiencing. I want to experience life for what it really is, not what I would like it to be. Last thing I want to do is take some kind of substance that's going to numb out my brain or numb out my ability to actually use my senses to experience the world in which I live. So it started out as just a nauseating, disgusting thing, but then it became more of, I'm not interested in putting something in my body that affects the way my mind works. I like the way my mind works. I like the way I think. And I don't want to take pills or drugs or anything that affects the way my brain operates. Anyways, that's that. And then next, Jack and Johnny, what was your happiest moment in life? That's a complicated question. I think this is hard because if you ask me this question in a week from now, I'd probably come up with a different answer. If you asked me a month ago, I'd probably come up with a different answer because there's so many wonderful experiences I've had throughout my life. I can't pick just one. I mean, they're all so different. But right this moment, at this thought, the happiest moment of my life, you know, honestly, when I impacted Table Mountain and I knew I was going to die, like I 100% knew for a fact that there was no way I could survive a terminal bounce on flat, solid granite. And I'm in the hospital and I hear doctors kind of talking and I hear them talk about double amputation. They're going to cut my legs off. And I'm just like, and I was sure that the outcome was going to be way worse than it actually turned out to be. I'd say when the doctor came in and told me that I was going to have a 100% recovery, that not only was I going to survive, but that they weren't going to have to do they weren't going to have to cut my legs off. Like I was going to be able to keep my legs and that I would go through rehab and within a year I would be back to what I was before the accident. I'd have to say that that moment that the doctor informed me that I was going to recover from something that I thought first was going to kill me and then obviously I was never going to recover from, that was just, I remember being so happy and just so appreciative of the fact that I was going to survive. You know, it was a big deal for me. So I'd say that right now, at this moment, I mean, I'm sure there's hundreds of others that I could come up with, but right now, that's the one that I would say was the happiest moment in my life. What was your first bass rig setup? My first bass rig setup was something called a reactor, which was a Velcro rig with a 265 Fox in it. That was my first one. It was a black canopy with a royal blue center cell and royal blue stabilizers because at the time I was learning, so that was easier to pack. So that was my first bass setup. And that was from Basic Research built that stuff. That company is now turned into Apex Bass. What was the jump you're most scared to do? Wow, that's another tough one. I don't know. There's so many of them. I'll tell you what, man, all of them are scary. They're all scary. But the one where I was absolutely horrified had to have been like the most horrified. I mean, I was super scared on Eiffel Tower. I was super scared on the Palace Hotel in Manhattan. I was super scared on Empire. But honestly, I think the most terrified was Flying Dagger. When I had to fly through that little crack in China, that would be the worst. And the reason why it was the worst wasn't because it was the most difficult. It was because I didn't get to train properly. We got hit by a typhoon. I didn't get the proper training jumps. I couldn't work myself into it the way I needed to. The landing area was so small and so restricted and on the side of a cliff. And if I didn't make it there, it was really likely I was going to break my legs and get super injured. And I had just recovered from the accident in South Africa. So combining all of these things together made that one just absolutely terrifying. And I definitely jumped out of that helicopter knowing, I'm going to get so hurt right now. I was so sure that it wasn't going to go well. So I was just gripped on that one. That was super scary. So I'd have to say that was my scariest. Okay, next. What in life scares you the most? Losing my friends. You know, I've lost so many of them, and it's always such a horrible experience when it happens that, yeah, the loss of my friends is more than friends. The loss of my loved ones, the people who I care about, like my mom, my girlfriend, there's nothing more terrifying to me than losing people I care about. That's now become my biggest fear. Oh man, this is already 14 minutes. It's getting kind of long. Okay, guys. Well, I got through 6 questions. I'll do it again. We'll do another one of these, and next time I think I'll do it live. So next time I do one of these question and answers, I'll probably have the questions going. Like, you'll be able to ask me questions live on YouTube, and I'll just answer them on the fly. So we'll be able to do a lot more of a live thing. But yeah, I want to try to keep this not too long. So anyways, so there's 15 minutes, 30 seconds. Anyways, I hope you guys liked it, and we'll do more of them. Have a good one.